Hello everyone. So the next topic which we will be going to study is about the prokaryotic cell. So let's start with the first slide of prokaryotic cell. So if we divide this term into two halves, then pro and karyotes. So what does that mean? So pro means before and chiron means or kernel means nucleus. So it consists of a true nucleus. It lacks the true nucleus. It does not have the true nucleus, and what it lacks is it lacks the membrane bound organelles. So this is what is a prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell does not have a nuclear membrane. So it consists of eubacteria and archaea. So the examples here are bacteria and archaebacteria. The prokaryotic cells, they have very simple structures and they are very common to both the cell types. They lack the extensive complex internal membrane system. So they lack the membrane bound organelles. For example, they do not have their own mitochondria. They have their DNA, genetic material, but they do not have their mitochondria, or they do not have their Golgi apparatus. So this is what a prokaryotic cell. So if we look at the structure of the prokaryotic cell, this is the example of a bacterial cell. So they have the flagellum which is present. They have some capsules which is present here. They have a cell wall. Then they have a nucleoid in which the DNA is being present. They have pillars. They have a plasma membrane and they have a ribosomes. So what are the functions of these components or these structures of the cells, prokaryotic cells are? So first we will talk about is the capsule. So it is a outer protective covering which is found in the bacterial cell. So as we can see here, this is the outer covering, and what it does, it helps in the moisture retention and protects the cell when engulfed and helps in the attachment of the cell to nutrients and surfaces. So this is the main function of the capsule. Then if we talk about the cell wall, it is the outermost layer of the cell. This is the outermost layer of the cell. So it has been already been depicted here that it is the outermost layer of the cell, and what it does, it helps to provide the structure to the cell. So what is the main function of cell wall? The main function of cell wall is to provide the structure or to the shape of the cell. Then the next is about the nucleoid. Nucleoid. So nucleoid, it is the region in the cytoplasm where genetic material is present. So the nucleoid consists of the DNA. So it is present in the cytoplasm itself. Then comes the pillars. They are the hair-like extensions. As you can see, these are some hair-like extensions which is present on the surface of the bacterial cell. So they are hair-like outgrowths that attach to the surface to other bacterial cells. So what this is the main function of the pillars. Then if we talk about ribosomes, they are involved in the protein synthesis. The main function of ribosome is to be involved in the process of protein synthesis. Then the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is also called as the cell membrane. So this layer surrounds the cytoplasm and regulates the entry and exit of substances in the cell. So this is the main function of the plasma membrane. Now this is a bacterial, as we have already discussed that this is a bacterial cell. So how the reproduction of bacterial cell takes place? So the bacterial cell reproduction takes place through the process of binary fission. So when there is a cell, it will divide it into, by the process of binary fission, it will be get converted into the two daughter nucleus, two daughter cells. So how this process takes place? The first is the DNA of an organism replicates and the new copies attach to the cell membrane. So this is the first step when the binary fission is happening in the bacterial cell. Then the cell walls start increasing in size and start moving inwards. The cell wall will start moving inwards. So there will be this structure will be like this. The cell wall will be moving starts increasing in size and it will be inwards. Then after this, what happens is it will be formed into two daughter cells. Now our main focus here is what are the characteristics of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Basically, in this, we will be discussing the main difference between a prokaryote and a eukaryote. So, first option is about the features, that is a membrane bound nucleus. So, we have already discussed that prokaryotes do not have a membrane bound nucleus lack and they lack the membrane bound organelles in the cell. But as the case of eukaryotes, so eukaryotes includes the plant cells and the animal cells, and if we see, they have the membrane bound nucleus, or they have the nuclear membrane which is present in the case of eukaryotes. So eukaryotes, they are generally considered as a very complex structure. They have all the membrane bound organelles, whether it is about mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum. So they have all the membrane bound organelles, but the prokaryotes do not have a membrane bound nucleus, and some of the organelles are also absent in case of the prokaryotes. So if we talk about those organelles, then they are mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi apparatus. So the prokaryotic cell lacks these three or cell organelles, but the eukaryotes, they have these organelles. So DNA complex with histone, the prokaryotes, they have a nucleoid in a DNA region, but the histone protein is not present in the prokaryotes. But in case of the eukaryotes, the histone protein is present and the DNA is covered by the histone protein itself. Number of chromosomes. The prokaryotes, they mostly have one chromosome, mostly, and the eukaryotes, they have more than one chromosome. So this is the main difference between the prokaryote and a eukaryote. If we see the process of mitosis and meiosis, this is the part of the cell division process. So in case of prokaryotes, it is absent, and in case of eukaryotes, it is present. Both the process of mitosis and meiosis takes place in the plants and the animals, but the prokaryotes do not have this. The cell basically divides by the binary fission. The reproduction is by the binary fission, but there is no cell division as such as in case of eukaryotes. Sterol in the plasma membrane. So they have the plasma membrane, but sterol is not present in the prokaryotes, but it is present in the eukaryotes. So this is one of the main difference between these two. Ribosomes, we have seen in the diagram in case of prokaryotes that they have the ribosomes in it, which is of 70S, and in case of eukaryotes, in plants and animals, they have 80S cytosol and 70S organelles. So this is what a difference, but this is what the difference is. Then unit bound organelles. So they absent these organelles, but the eukaryotes, they have these organelles. So as I have told, they uh, they do not have the mitochondria, they do not have the endoplasmic reticulum, they do not have the Golgi bodies. But in case of the eukaryotes, they have all of these and they are all membrane bound. Cell wall, they are present in the prokaryotic cell. It was being depicted in the diagram itself that this layer, this was the cell wall in case of the prokaryotes. And in the eukaryotes, it is made up of cellulose in plants and it is absent in the animal cells. Animal cells, they have the plasma membrane, but they do not have the cell wall. And in plants, the cell wall is there, but it is made up of cellulose. So it has the cell wall. Next is uh, so we have discussed the differences. Now we will be discussing the similarities as well. Now this is the picture of the prokaryote. This is a prokaryote and this is a eukaryote, which is being depicted here. So we have discussed the differences. Now what are the similarities in both of these? So similarities is they both have the plasma membrane. So they both have the plasma membrane. So this is being depicted here. They both have the ribosomes, that is helps in the protein synthesis. Then next is cell wall is present in case of the prokaryotes, and in case of the plant cells it is also present. This is the main difference. They both have their own genetic material, like they both have the DNA. So these are some of the main differences of the similarities of the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. So these are the four similarities or four features we can say. They have the cytoplasm. So the main cytoplasm is a fluid like consistency in which all the cell organelles are present and all the major functions are present in the cytoplasm. They have their DNAs, they have the plasma membrane, they have the ribosomes, both of them prokaryotes as well as the eukaryotes. Both of them have the ribosomes that helps in the protein synthesis. So this was all about the prokaryotic cell and these are some of the references. Thank you.